How's it going, folks? All right. Well, doesn't seem like things are getting any better out there. Uh, but I'm back and I'm here to talk about something that makes me happy, and that's the blues. Uh, yeah, and this is overdue because I'm going to talk about, show some records I got on a run back in late 2025 in December. Through actually 3 different runs at Rhino out here in Claremont, or not in Claremont anymore, Montclair. And yeah, early mid-December, I think it was like first week of December, I go in, and the time before that I was in there, I noticed that they had Rhino has always been a little peculiar, even in their old location. They go through these stretches. They have new arrivals. They have a new arrival section, but then they don't have it anymore. It could be a couple years. I don't see a new arrival section. And then suddenly there'll be one, it'll be around for a while, and then they don't have it anymore. So sometime in November, I noticed they had a new arrival section on their back wall, but it was alphabetized. But I think it was every kind of music was thrown in there. But then in December, when I went, the new arrival section was still there, but I noticed they had a couple rows. They have those 3-tiered bins, start down and go up. I noticed a couple of rows of jazz new arrivals, and then one full row, and then it spilled over to the next a little bit, and there was a card marked blues. So that immediately caught my attention. So I went over there and started flipping through, and I was amazed at what I saw in there. A lot of blues compilations, and I love blues compilations. There were dozens of these. And I like blues compilations because when it comes to the old-timey stuff, many compilations, unless you can find 78s, old 78s, they can only be found on compilations. Some artists have like single artist compilations in their discography, but there are a lot of singers and players who they didn't even record enough to make an album, to compile their material into an album. So you find a lot of stuff that it's the only way to find it, really, unless you're really digging deep and going for 78s. So yeah, there were all these compilations, and I picked up, I think, 6, and I brought them home, and for the next few days, I just kept thinking about it. Like, there's more out there. There's more just sitting there. So it was about a week later, maybe 5-6 days. I go back specifically to get more. So I go back, and I think I got about another 7, 8. And I asked one of the guys working there, I said, "Hey, how'd you get all these blues albums?" And he started telling me about some. He said it was a producer's collection, and his son brought him in to trade, and he was trying to think of his name, and he said, yeah, he's originally from Chicago, but lived out here. And the first name that popped in my head was Pete Welding. I said, Pete Welding? Is that the guy? And he said, yes, that's his name, Pete Welding. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. Pete Welding was a producer, based out of Chicago in the 60s. And he started the label Testament Records, which I have several of those albums. But you'll see his name on liner notes of various different albums and labels. And he was quite the prolific producer, liner notes guy in the 60s. And I didn't know he settled out here in Southern California. But he died in the mid-90s, so I think his family must have decided, well, now's the time to get rid of him. So that second run, I got 7 or so of these albums, and I'm taking a long time setting this up. So then I come home, and again I'm thinking, there's still so much more good stuff there. So I went back a third time and got more, and nobody was buying it. Everything was still there. Each time I went back, I saw what I had left behind. Yeah, they're all still there. Nobody wants the blues. So I ended up getting about 30 total of these compilations. A few of them I already had, but I picked them up for Jim, and then a few more I just randomly kind of selected to give to Jim. So I ended up with a little over 20 of these comps. And there were a few single artist albums too, which I got a couple of those. So let's get on with the show here. And the great thing about this collection, Mr. Welding, is there were a lot of imports, like UK, Sweden, German, and US pressings as well, but really obscure stuff. So I'll start with a couple of major label offerings. Going Up the Country, recorded in Louisiana and Mississippi by David Evans on Decca. And these are all in great shape. A couple of them, the album covers are just like worn, but no big deal at all. Here's the Decca label. And this is a UK pressing. And this stuff is, everything is from '66. Produced by Mike Vernon and Neil Slavin. And a lot of players I don't even know. Arzo Youngblood, Major Johnson, Roosevelt Holtz, I have an album of his, Big Bill Webb, Cornelius Bright, Jack Owens. All 1966 on that one. And this one is on CBS, not Screaming the Blues, but Screening the Blues. Nice orange cover. This has stuff from looks like 27 to 35. Again, a lot of people I never heard of. Jack Ranger, Washington Phillips. I think I've heard of Washington Phillips. There's a Robert Johnson song on here. Phonograph Blues, which I thought was an interesting choice. Clara Smith, Bertha, Idaho, Curly Weaver, Bumblebee Slim. I'm always on the lookout for some Bumblebee Slim. And Butter Beans and Susie with the song Papa Ain't No Santa Claus, Mama Ain't No Christmas Tree on CBS. There's the company sleeve. I think I only had to change out one inner sleeve that wasn't in great shape. And then some of the more obscure labels. There's quite a few on this Fly Right label out of England. This one is Going Away Walking. And this is, looks like stuff from the 20s, 1927 to 1930. Otis Harris, Barefoot Bill, Stovepipe Number 1, and David Crockett. I guess Stovepipe Number 1, his real name is Sam Jones. Texas Alexander, I know. Pegleg Howell, I know. Yeah, and the Fly Right label. That's it right there. And some of these have inserts, pamphlets, booklets. Gives you information. It's nice to read information about some of these who I don't know. New York Country Blues. And this is all stuff recorded in New York by people who traveled there from the South. Looks like a lot of the Carolina. Brownie McGee's on here, Jelly Belly and Slim Seward, Alonzo Scales, Leroy Dallas, Big Boy Ellis, New York Country Blues, and these are cool. Piedmont Blues, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Piedmont Blues out of the Carolinas. Virgil Childers, Curly Weaver again, Floyd Council, Bull City Red, Buddy Moss, and Brownie McGee on one of these, yeah. Julius Daniels, Cedar Creek Chic, Roosevelt Antrim, and more Buddy Moss. Yeah, these are excellent finds. This one has recommended reading Crying for the Carolinas by Bruce Bastin. And there was another one, Bull City Blues, similar cover. I gave that one to Rufus. And then label I didn't know about, Magnolia out of Sweden. Rough Alley Blues. Blues from Georgia, 1924 to 1931. Sylvester Weaver, Sloppy Henry, Barbecue Bob again, Mary Willis, Blind Willie McTell. Walter Beasley, and the Magnolia label. Yeah, man, these are just such a great score to go in and see all these. And these were all in the $10 to $20 range. I didn't get anything that was over $20. There were some that were over $20 that I left, and I felt like, yeah, that's fine. Another one on the Magnolia label, If Beale Street Could Talk, a selection of pre-war Memphis blues favorites, 1928 to 1939. Someone on here called Charlie Manson, Kansas Joe, Memphis Minnie, Jim Jackson, Few Memphis Minis on here. Memphis Jug Band. Yeah. And this one was an interesting one. Look Out Sam on this label Scout out of Germany. And this is on the electric side, Chicago Blues, Otis Rush, Magic Sam, J.B. Lenoir, Junior Wells. Yeah, a lot of these guys are like Del Mark, but I don't think this is a Del Mark comp on the Scout label. There's that. And this one, all female singers, I'm Coming from Seclusion. And yeah, that's Hattie McDaniel. Gone with the Wind fame. She's got a hell of a singing voice too. There's a couple of her songs on here. I Wish I Had Somebody and Boohoo Blues. Sippy Wallace is also on here. Thelma Lavizo, Priscilla Stewart, Edmonia Henderson, Rosa Holly, Hilda Alexander. And this is on collector's items. That conspicuously resembles the Rounder label, but it says Made in England on the sleeve. So we got that. And then another good label. I have several albums on this label. The Matchbox label out of England. Two White Horses Standing in Line. And this is 1939 field recordings from Texas. John Avery Lomax and Ruby Terrell Lomax. John Lomax did a lot of this stuff. Yeah, 1939. The song Ellis Speed, didn't the Dead do that? Jack Diamonds. Ace Johnson is on this. Roger Gill, Smith Casey. Yeah, and the more obscurities. It says Flywright Matchbox, Library of Congress Series, Volume 5. And this is a cool one. Oh, let's see the Matchbox label. There's a nice booklet in here. And more on the Matchbox. And this is cool because I don't have anything specifically focusing on blues out of Florida. This is 1935 field recordings from Florida. Boot That Thing. And is that a year? Oh, recorded by Mary Elizabeth Barnacle, Zora Neale Hurston, and Alan Lomax. 1935, all of these. And mostly players I don't know. Might be all players, I don't know. Booker T. Sapp, Willie Flowers. There's a lot of Booker T. Sapps. Yeah. And this one is Scoodalum Scoo, The Folk Tradition, Early Blues, Volume 1. Also on the Matchbox label. Stovepipe Number 1 again is on here. Charlie Jackson, Banjo Joe, who is Gus Cannon. Winston Holmes, Walter Jacobs, Billy James and his guitar. Looks like this is all 30s material. Well, there's a couple on here from 1924. 102-year-old recordings. See, I love this stuff. This one's 1940 field recordings from Natchez, Mississippi, Mississippi River Blues. Cool cover, again on the Matchbox label. Lucius Curtis, Willie Ford, George Baldwin. And now the US pressings. We'll get into some of those. The Nighthawk label. And I've known about the Nighthawk label. I've never gotten anything off that. Chicago Slickers, 1948 to 1953. And there are the names. And this is like early, some of this is early electric guitar stuff. Johnny Shines, Homesick James, oh yeah. Robert Nighthawk's on here. Pretty sure the label was named after Robert Nighthawk. Out of St. Louis, Mississippi. And that's Johnny Shines. And Lake Michigan Blues, another one on the Nighthawk label. And the years, 1934 to 41. There's their logo. Really cool. Falling behind here. Down Behind the Rise, 1947 to 1953. There's those. Frankie Lee Sims from 1948. His songs are really advanced. I mean, for that time, his playing. Yeah. And the last one on Nighthawk is 1935 to 1953, Windy City Blues, with Washboard Sam, Robert Lee McCoy, I think that's Robert Nighthawk, Sonny Boy Williamson, Robert Lockwood, Tampa Red, guitar Pete Franklin. It kind of looks like Muddy Waters on the cover, but that's actually Robert Nighthawk. Let me flip this record. I hope I don't forget to tell you what this album is at the end. A few more. All right. And this one has a wild looking cover. The Finest Blues, the Biggest Hits, Boogie. And this has Little Walter. This is more like Chicago blues. Jimmy Rogers, Otham Brown, Boll Weevil, Johnny Young, Sleepy John Estes, Johnny Temple. This one is just, to me, okay, because it has different takes of the same songs. Yeah, which is all right. But not the greatest kind of way to listen to stuff, to hear them back to back. And this is on the Barrel House label. It's the first thing I have on this label. But a cool one. This might have been the cheapest. They had $8 maybe. And this was, to me, a great find. These are all great finds. Sorrow Come Pass Me Around, a survey of rural black religious music, on the Advent label. And there's a reissue of this. Came out like 10 years ago, maybe more, with a completely different cover. But man, this is good. It starts off with the drum and pipe and drum band, Sorrow Come Pass Me Around, the title track by Ephraim Carter. And there's someone on here called Robert Nighthawk Johnson, but I don't think that's Robert Nighthawk. Babe Stovall again. Furry Lewis is on some of this. Man, great stuff. And these are all, I'm guessing, like 60s, mid-60s to mid-70s pressings. And here's one on an interesting label, Packing Up My Blues, Blues of the Deep South. 1950 to 61, on the Muscadine label. What's that? someone on here called Stick Horse Hammond. Someone else called Tommy Lee. Levi Seabury. And there's a couple songs by a band called The Confiners and recorded in Mississippi State Prison in 1961. This one is really cool. Collector's album, CJ's Roots of Chicago Blues, featuring Comeback Little Mac. This one is notable for me because it has a couple of Hound Dog Taylor songs, early Hound Dog Taylor. I think they were only released on 45s, mid-60s. Yeah, he does Christine and Alley Music. Earl Hooker's also on here. Homesick James, Betty Everett. On this, what is this label? Blue Flame label. And you see most of these are guitar based, but there's one piano, primitive piano, featuring Speckled Red, Billy Pierce, Doug Suggs, and James Robinson. And I believe that's Speckled Red. Not to be confused with his brother, Piano Red, on the Folk Lyric label. There's that. Cool sleeve. The Longines Symphonette Recording Society. I'm wondering if this is the original inner sleeve. Gold medal quality at our very finest. We suggest a diamond stylus for finest reproduction and minimal record wear. For best results, please replace worn stylus. Dust can damage these fine recordings. Yeah, this is a cool one. I think all these are, there's no band, just a piano and singing. And then just a few of the individual artists that I got. I didn't have anything by Blind Joe Taggart, or guitar evangelist, 1926 to 1931. His entire Paramount catalog of extreme rarities assembled on one album, on the Herwin label, which looks like a Yazoo. There's the Herwin. Yeah, I didn't see any Yazoo in there. This other one, Lonnie Johnson, Mr. Johnson's Blues, 1926 to 32. Great, I love Lonnie Johnson. He's there on the guitar. I don't know who this bass player is. Could it be Ransom Knowling? Doesn't say. But yeah, on the Mamlish label, another one that kind of seems like Yazoo. And then, speaking of Speckled Red earlier, there's a Speckled Red recorded in England, 1960. Speckled Red, Rufus Perryman. Just piano and vocals, and this is a gas. This album is really good. Yeah, on this VJM label. And then finally, this was cool too. Arthur Gunter, Black and Blues on Excello. And this is, I don't know if this is everything, but this is all 45s, a collection of the 45s he put out in the early mid-50s. It's just really like early rock and roll. And his hit is on here, Baby Let's Play House. Yeah, Blues After Hours. This is a nice choice find. Again, these are all choice. So yeah, that's it. The blues compilations. I had to make room. I haven't put these away yet after all these months. I made some room and now my blues section is expanded. But yeah, the blues runs seem to be the most memorable. I remember like 7, 8 years ago, Jim called me up and said Amoeba San Francisco just got this killer blues selection. He was telling me some of the stuff he got. And I said, screw it, I'm going. So I dropped everything and went up there. I came home with about this many blues records, but not comps, and maybe a couple of comps, but they were mainly single artists. But yeah, I'll always remember these blues runs. Even Glass House about 3 or 4 years ago, I went in there and somehow they had a bunch of blues, and I ended up getting like 6, 7 blues albums. But yeah, it's a slow. I think with the blues, I mean, my blues section, I feel like, to me, the most cherished section for me. I've been slowly and meticulously kind of building it since high school. And after this, I feel like I just want to focus on getting more blues. And like I say, every time I went back, these albums were still there over the course of about a 2.5 week, 3 week span. Like nobody was buying them. Yeah. Oh yeah. This doesn't have anything to do with the blues records. I'd rather play instrumental music in the background than stuff with the vocals. Doug McDonald, I've got the Minor Blues. It's a guitar player you can see, featuring Paul Madison. This was recorded in Hawaii, Honolulu, 1981, on the Sharp Records label, Sharp 11, which I think was his label. Yeah, it's a nice, cool album to throw on. All right. That's it, everyone. Take care.